welcome back to the Whatnauts, a review show number 248, where each week we have a different story to talk about. It could be a movie, an anime, a comic, a manga, all sorts of stuff. We read it, we watch it, we come back here and talk about it. This week we will be talking about Arcane, League of Legends, but we'll get to that in just a sec. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how are you?
Hello. I'm doing okay. How was your weekend, Ben, Kyle?
It's been good. I went to go see John Wick for a second time. Did not get to go see it in 4DX, unfortunately.
Man.
It was weird. Where I live, they stopped all of the 4DX or like the 4DX equivalent showings on like Thursday afternoon. So like this entire weekend, just nothing. Like you had to go see the like regular version. So we did the like 21 and up thing where you could like go sit and eat and you know have all of your food there, which was still a blast. It was a lot of fun. John Wick 4, very, very good. Go watch it if you have not. We even have a spoiler cast.
We do
on all of that stuff. But Melissa, how has your weekend been?
Fine, uneventful. Did a lot of laundry. Went to my parents' house. Watched my dad channel surf. My dad's full cable package. He has maybe the most channels of any human now.
Like 900 and I watch him channels.
I watch him channel surf through.
Thing?
Yes.
Wild.
He goes to a fishing show, a car show, just all of this real dad type stuff, very outdoorsy, very sporty. And then he eventually lands on Trolls World Tour. Clicks record next full showing.
Yes. Awesome. What a great weekend, though.
Right.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, like I said, we are here to talk about Arcane, the hit TV show that's out on Netflix, an animated series. One of Netflix's most liked is what the app told me. Which I always knew that this Mountain was an instant hit. Everyone loved it and was immediately just been like, "Oh my god, you need to watch this." It actually took me quite a while to check this out. So we're recording this in April of 2023. I only watched it like end of 2022. So it took me a bit, but I then rewatched it for this week here on the podcast. But I consider myself a gamer. I'm sitting here in my Xbox shirt,
yes.
Right? I know nothing about the game that this is based on, League of Legends. Not my kind of game, not my scene. I didn't know anything. And so I was very, very pleasantly surprised going into this, realizing, oh, I don't need to know anything about the game. I don't even need to know that this is based on a game, and you can still enjoy this. So that is neat. But I'm glad we're finally talking about it here on the show. Melissa,
yes,
you self-admittedly not much of a gamer. We've
zero, absolutely zero.
We used to have a video game podcast here at the Whatnauts, and even before that, I liked to do like, let me use Melissa as a magic 8-ball to do all of my like E3, rest in peace, my E3 predictions, all of that stuff. Like, hey, what do you think this will happen? And that was good. It was fun. But that was me just being like, hey, I know you know nothing. Let me just have you say yes or no. And that's it.
You guys would throw a game at me when I would go on episodes of Crossplay. Like, Melissa, when do you think this game is coming out? And I just stutter and say, like, the fourth quarter 2023. And you guys would be like, oh, no. And I'm like, the first quarter 2023? I don't know what the correct answer is. That's the point.
Stick it there.
Yeah. And zero knowledge. Well, I know a lot of names.
Sure.
I know names. I have seen faces. I've walked past a GameStop in the mall. I know that much.
Yeah. Congratulations. So what was your, I guess, experience with this Arcane show? Had you heard of it before? What were you thinking going into it? Where was your mindset?
I had been told about it, but like my brother told me about it, like various friends. I went on like a couple dates where guys were like, Arcane! But it was the thing where everybody just kept yelling adjectives at me and they didn't add any specific information. They would just be like, it's incredible, it's amazing, it's so good. And they would only add further detail by adding further emphasis, like, it's incredible. And I'm like, that's not a fact. I don't know what this thing is. What are you talking about? And they never gave me any sort of specific, like, oh, Melissa, you would like this because it's like this other thing you like. So I was just being
or like,
vaguely
here's a little bit about the story to get you interested. I gotcha.
So I knew it was very good. I trusted that it was very good. I knew that people did sincerely like it, but I was frustrated that people just kept vaguely impersonally yelling at me about it.
That's great.
But I thought, I guess eventually I got to give this thing a shot so I don't get yelled about it. Yeah, not yelled at, just sort of yelled towards. Just sort of like a big booming enthusiasm that people have.
Now
like,
you
so
can stand your ground and hold your own and be like, in fact, I have seen it. In fact, X, Y, and Z, I did a podcast on it more than you ever did, right?
Probably, yes. But so you pitched it to me. I'm like, I have to take it. This has been out there. I have to. I feel like I'm doing a disservice to so many friends, brothers, acquaintances, random dates if I don't at least try it. But I don't think this was the best week for me to watch it. I'm like under a lot of stress at work. I'm hitting the gym. I've got this real tight like weight loss goal. I had to watch this on my phone at the gym, which I know is not the best circumstances to watch this on a little screen propped up on a machine where I'm also watching like the calorie count and my heart rate. Nobody else is watching Arcane while also monitoring their heart rate. So I know I was distracted. I did enjoy the show. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, but I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I was supposed to. I think it's just bad timing.
That's okay. That's understandable. So I pitched a series of animated television shows based off of video games. And yeah, you picked Arcane. Immediately after I had watched this one, I was like, oh, I need to do like a things based on video games pitch here on the review show. So yeah, I'm glad we are finally getting to this. I really enjoy this show. Like I said, I know nothing about League of Legends. I'm more of like a first person story driven video game player, not an online PC, even though I have a PC that can probably handle it and do some stuff like that. I just not my scene. So let me at least mention a little bit more about the video game here. And this is how much of a fake gamer I truly am. I'm pulling up the Wikipedia page of League of Legends to even explain what it is, because I don't even know.
I gotta say that after watching this show, I don't feel like I'm closer to understanding what League of Legends is or what you do in it. I watch it trying to figure out like who are the players? What do the players do? Like what sort of role are you in? And I can't be sure.
This is not meant to like not necessarily meant to entice you or educate you on the game. It's just meant to be its own story, and it's set within the same world. But according to Wikipedia, League of Legends is a multiplayer online battle arena game in which the player controls a champion with a set of unique abilities from an isometric perspective. So it's like that top down, almost like three
Okay.
quarters.
This sounds like most games. A champion with abilities? Like,
Well,
that's
so
Pokemon. That's everything.
No, because Ash does not have abilities. So yeah, like you can pick of a number of different characters, right? You could be a tank, which can take a lot more damage. You can be a support character, which can heal characters or cast spells to buff them and make them stronger, stuff like that. But yeah, as of 2023, there are over 160 champions available to play. Over the course of a match, champions gain levels, blah blah blah, all of that stuff. I'll skip most of that, but yeah, it's man, it is developed and published by Riot Games. It's inspired by Defense of the Ancients, a custom map for Warcraft 3. Blah, blah, blah. Like, since its release in 2009, League has been a free-to-play game and is monetized through purchasable character customization. It's available on Microsoft Windows and Mac OS. So,
Okay.
there you go. That's all I'll say on what the actual video game is. It is incredibly popular. Maybe worth checking out. But however, this television show, this animated series, I will do the quick plot synopsis of this according to its Wikipedia. It says, amidst the escalating unrest between the rich utopian city of Piltover and its seedy, oppressed underbelly of Zaun, sisters Vi and Jinx find themselves on opposing sides of a brewing conflict over clashing convictions and arcane technologies.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think that is a kind of very top level breakdown of what this is. And yeah, on one hand, yeah, it is a story about these two sisters that get separated and find themselves on kind of opposing sides of this conflict, this classist conflict. And on the other hand, it is a story about magic. This world that has been like magic exists. It has had this long history. And at one point, they tried to get rid of it because of its destructive power, because the wrong people tried to get their hands on it. And from what it sounds like, maybe an entire city was destroyed, if not more than that. And yeah, they tried to bury it. And slowly but surely, magic is starting to kind of come back and manifest itself. And there is this young scientist slash engineer, reminded me a lot of like a Tony Stark like character, that is starting to bring magic back. He has rediscovered it and thinks, hey, I can incorporate this into technology. And that has kind of launched him into the higher places within this heady, certain governing bodies. And he is starting to shape the future of this city, and it is now starting to attract the attention of both that seedy underbelly as well as some nations on the outskirts that we really haven't seen much of yet. We've just starting to see, oh, you're a character from, that world that has been like, hey, you're starting to build weapons. Let's keep an eye on you here. So things are starting to bubble over, I think is a good way to put that. Melissa, would you like to add anything to that? Do you think I missed or left out anything?
There are several characters you are following. When the show started,
Sure, yeah.
I thought we were just going to be on these two sisters. But then the cast really expands. There's a couple different protagonists who
Yeah,
you really get a
absolutely.
good look at their lives. Like the scientist you mentioned, his other scientific partner, the sort of mayor and like council members of the
Yep.
city they're in, a law enforcement officer, a drug kingpin, all sorts of people are in the mix here.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. This, I think this series as a whole is quite incredible, from the artwork and the animation style, to the way they craft their narrative. I think the pilot of this one is such a strong start to just get you interested in what's happening. And then, yeah, by the end, I'm fascinated. I want to know more about the world and what's happening, what's coming down the road. I know that they are working on a season 2, but I think it will take a while. I'm not sure exactly when that is coming. So who knows? But yeah, the artwork reminded me a lot of like it has this real like painterly style. At times it looks really like a 2D digital painting, and then at times it has these like this gorgeous sense of depth in there that is just like, how did they do this? It also kind of reminds me of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, or that more recent Puss in Boots. Maybe if you saw that, there's some artwork in there that looks very similar. The way they just mix the like 2D and 3D animation styles in one to create this like wholly new thing is fantastic. It's great.
I've never seen a TV show that looks like this. This is
Yes.
visually unparalleled in its medium. I thought of movies that are stunning or inventive in other ways, but I struggled to think of another episodic TV, broadcast or streaming show that I've seen that is on this level of depth, of detail. Not to say that it isn't possible. I'm sure there are great examples that I'm just not thinking of right now.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But there is something truly cinematic about it.
Yes, yeah. I think, yeah, the way they craft their narrative is just expertly told, and how it all kind of weaves together. All the different characters you follow. Yeah, you don't really expect this to be an ensemble cast based off the premise, but they handle each of them adeptly. They're all interesting in their own ways. I never really felt like, oh man, I wish we could get back to Vi and her story, because this other character is just kind of boring. Like they make them all interesting, and you want to know more about what's happening in each of these different corners. And a huge cast, a wide variety of all sorts of different actors that you may or may not recognize. We have some Whatnauts review show alum.
We do.
We have a Lost alum, alumni in this, which is fantastic. So here on the review show, we also covered the first season of Lucifer. Way back when, and Kevin Alejandro is in that show. He plays Jace in this. He's that like scientist engineer who's incorporating all the magic into hex tech, all of that good stuff. I'm a big fan of, and I don't know exactly how to pronounce their name, but Sora Adashlu, I think is how you say her name. Her voice is incredible. She has that like deep, raspy voice. She's also in The Expanse, which is one of my favorite shows. And then, of course, Vi is played by Haley Stanfield. we've seen her in Hawkeye and stuff, which we covered on another one of our podcasts. Melissa, is there anyone else you recognize in here?
Jason Spizak from Green Lantern, the animated series.
Okay.
I was very happy to hear Razor's voice again.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. So he plays Silco in this show. Interesting. I did not know that he was also a review show.
That was the only one I was
here.
thinking of. I'm like, I've got one voice I'm latched onto.
Okay. Good stuff. So Yuri Lowenthal, who plays the character of Milo, who we really only see in the pilot, though his voice kind of lingers on. I know him because he plays Peter Parker in the Spider-Man video game, as well as Marvel's Midnight Suns, which I just recently played. All that stuff. He is a fantastic Peter Parker in that. I also recognize Fred Tassitori, who is a
that name's all over the place.
Voice actor. He often does Hulk in all the Marvel stuff. And then, of course, at least for me, last but not least, the late Mira Furlan, who played Rousseau in Lost, the French woman. She is in this. And I don't think I knew that she passed away.
I didn't know.
Last
I'm
year,
just hearing this now.
Yeah,
it's very sad.
Recently. That is unfortunate. She played Babette here in this show. She was the older woman at the brothel that gave them some info. Yeah, I'm sure there's other people in here. I know Roger Craig Smith is in this. He played Clagger. He's a prolific voice actor as well. Yeah, I'm sure there are tons of people in this.
Yeah, and I know there's people you're naming from a video game background. Like I know Yuri Lowenthal is Ben 10.
Yes, yeah.
I think you've told me he plays
on.
Peter Parker in the video games, but I don't know that firsthand.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, we have been talking for a while, spoiler free. So let's take a quick break for housekeeping, and when we come back, we will dive into spoilers. We will be right back. Here at the Whatnauts, we make multiple different shows, and a lot of hard work goes into making them, so we would love it if you check them all out. If you enjoy our shows, patreon.com/thewhatnauts is the best place to show your support. For just $1 a month, you can get early access to episodes, and at our $3 tier, a Patreon exclusive podcast, The Pilots Club. You can even get a shout out and thank you on most of our shows at the $5 tier. And if you're one of our patrons already, thank you so much. It means the world to us. You can find out more information on our website, thewhatnauts.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. When you type in the Whatnauts, all of our shows will pop up right there. Just don't forget to give us a nice rating and review if you like the shows. You can also find us on YouTube and Twitch for video versions of the shows, trailer reactions, and live streams. And lastly, we have merch. If you want to grab yourself a shirt or a hoodie or a mug or something else, head over to thewhatnauts.com/store to pick up some merch today. All right, we are back. Once again, a big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. We appreciate it. We love you a lot. If you are a supporter at the $3 tier, you get access to our patron-only exclusive podcast, The Pilots Club. And this month in April, we talked about Bob Patterson. Melissa, what's Bob Patterson?
Bob Patterson is a 2001 ABC sitcom starring Jason Alexander as Bob Patterson, the nation's third best-selling self-help guru. This show lasted 1 month.
It's just so weird of a show. It lasted a single month. They only made 10 episodes. About half of them aired, and then they lost. some of the ones that did not air. It's just a weird show altogether.
Like 2.5 episodes are missing. So that means 25% of the entire series is just lost to time.
Wild stuff. So if you want to hear us talk about that, that is what we are talking about on the Pilots Club right here on the review show. This past week, we finished up our coverage of the Fast and the Furious saga. We have watched all of them now.
We're in the family. We brought the corn to the barbecue.
Family. When you're here, you're family, right? That's what they say. Yeah, we had a blast watching all of those. Last week, we covered 7 through 9. Yeah, I cannot wait for Fast 10. It's gonna be a blast. So go check out our coverage of the Fast and the Furious. We have a few episodes on all of those. Over on the Captain's Log, man, we got to talk about all sorts of things. My life is in shambles. I've been lied to again. Luigi's Pizza is a lie. You guys will have to go find out what that means. But Melissa, you and I also talked about the villain experience that we truly deserve. We have Avengers Campus. Yeah. We have Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. I need like a Legion of Doom summer camp where I can have my own villain experience. So we got to discuss our thoughts on that.
We talked about Six Flags having the classic Gotham City, you trip from a catwalk into a big vat. That's the number one comic book experience we want to live.
Absolutely. But then over on the Reactor Core, I also already mentioned our John Wick 4 spoiler cast. If you guys would like to go check that out, it is up on podcast services and YouTube. Unfortunately, our video got corrupted on that one, so it's an audio only, even on YouTube. But it's out there if you guys want to check it out. And then immediately after this, Melissa, you and I are finally recording our reactions to the first 2 episodes of season 2 of Yellow Jackets. I'm super excited to talk about that. And it may or may not be the reason that I need this energy drink for today.
It scared you. You stayed up all night shivering in fear.
I would not in fear. My mind was racing. Theories, Melissa, theories. But yeah, you guys can go check out all of that stuff. That's housekeeping for this week, though. Let's get back to Arcane and start talking some spoilers. All right. Melissa, I know you said that your viewing experience may not have been the most ideal experience. The ideal experience, obviously, being watching it on your on your Shrek TV with a built-in VHS player. But
only
we can't all have that experience. So.
Can I tell you real briefly right now that last night my roommate was telling me that she just rewatched Shrek and she's like, man, Shrek's still good. Shrek hits.
It is.
I'm going to watch the second one. I just found out there's a third one. I'm like, Mary, there are 4. I told her, I'm like, Mary, there are 4 Shrek movies. She's like, what? No way. I'm like, 4 Shreks. 2 Puss in Boots.
There's spin-offs, yeah.
the short film that was the ride, the Shrek 4D experience at Universal Studios. Like, Mary, you don't know what you're in store for.
That's amazing. That also kind of happened to my partner with Fast and the Furious. We were watching like the second or third one, and of course it had the like the viewers also watched, and it was like number 5, and she was like, man, they made 5 of these. I was like,
twice that many
is about
twice and counting.
Yeah. Anyways, Arcane, Melissa, what stood out to you? What of your not so great viewing experience? What is something that was like, whoa, that's neat.
Like I said, the visuals unquestionable. They are, no matter what mental frame you're in. Like, I've needed to learn a lot of new processes and documentation and things at work, so my brain already feels real crowded. And when I turn on a show that's like a high fantasy show with so much lore in it, like
Yes.
I'm already at a threshold. Like, I know I am not going to be able to retain this information they're giving to me. But anyone at any time can look at this thing and be astounded. Like, the particularly
Absolutely.
as the season goes on, like the way Jinx sees that, like the way the footage around her just like glitches and breaks, and it's so scratchy. Like, it turns from this painterly style into like scratch board art.
Yeah.
It's really outstanding. The use of metaphors in this thing, to the point where, like, when you watch Mitchell's versus the Machines and like those little like stickers pop up on screen where a character's excited, and then there's like a little gif almost stuck on the screen of like some little cartoon dancing, like, oh, this is a metaphor, this is a visual presentation, like that didn't really happen. But sometimes Jinx would like glitch from like one part of the screen to another, and I did stop and question, like, can she really do that? Did that just happen? Can she like break time and move that fast? Because I don't know the rules of this world. Maybe she can.
Yeah. So yeah, I read that as, no, she's not like physically actually doing it, but it is their like filming technique, their artistic style or choice to just depict like this character and this like her mental state. Where, I mean, yeah, like we've seen like montages of like a character who needs to spend a long amount of time in a certain spot, and you see them be like, okay, they're looking out the window, now they're sitting down and writing a book, and they're over here, they're over there, they do this, and it's like it cuts in between all of that stuff, so it looks like they're hopping around. That's what it's doing for her, but not over a long period of time. Yeah, and that's really, really neat. And you said that you don't know if you could like name another like animated series that has like this high production value. I don't know if I could name any kind of live action show that does anything similar to, like, what if we had a like, and I not to be the like scratchy stuff, like all of that stuff you've seen, but this idea of this character almost glitching out to the point where it's like the way she's depicted on screen is more so a metaphor for her mental state, and not like a physical ability or power or.
I was 90% sure that's what it was, but still, I'm like, right. I have to watch this thing on a tiny phone screen at the gym. Like, I might have looked away at the wrong time. I know I'm not getting 100% of this. Like,
she has her like clock stoppers.
Right.
Watch.
Like, I left a little space for maybe I missed something, and she genuinely can move very fast. It's like, I don't know everything that's going on. Maybe that's true.
Yeah. I think that stuff is really, really neat. Even in moments where I feel like it gets a little cheesy with how much metaphor they're putting on, it's still just visually stunning. It's still just, man, this is great. Like there's a moment where, like, I think it's the moment she lights the smoke flare. And like sparks are falling and she's holding it up, but it's also like the camera's spinning around her and the music ramps up, and it's this real like mournful, sorrowful like piece that is playing in the background. And then you see the like spirits or like the corpses of Milo and Clegger like behind her, just like lighting on her in this like operatic, just like, oh, you know, like it's kind of cheesy, but it like, man, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, and it works. It's just
yeah.
Yeah, there's it's so good.
This
Melissa,
is
it's good.
the
It's incredible. It's amazing. It's so good.
I know. Stop yelling. I did it. This is the episode of the podcast where you're gonna know everybody's names and I'm not. I knew their little friends as Chubby Kid and Eyebrow Kid.
It's essentially that's kind of all you need to know. They're characters, but they're also kind of non-characters in the sense that they're only there in the first 3 episodes and then they die. But they do this thing where their voices, their spirit, like Powder, aka Jinx, is still dealing with them. She found herself unfortunately responsible for her death, and she didn't immediately know. And when she found out, she was devastated, and so she has this like the specters of them, right, still like talking in their in her head, and she talks with them, which is also I know that's been a narrative thing in a number of movies or animated shows and stuff like that. But also, if you've played the Batman Arkham games, there's one of them. It's Arkham City, I believe, is the one. No, because that's Arkham. It's fuck. I should know this.
I can't
one.
help you here.
It's I know. But yeah, there's one of the Arkham games where the conceit is Joker has already passed away, but Batman is continuing to see him and is like talking with him, and he'll just be sitting there, just being like, "So, Bats, you're still here, huh?" Like blah 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 blah. And he's just like, "Shut up," and he like walks by. Yeah,
I think it's very lovely and polite and respectful that you say passed away, but in that context, it sounds like Batman didn't kill Joker. Nobody killed Joker. He just like quietly had a heart attack in his sleep, and now
poisoned
Batman
himself.
has to live thinking of battles he
was sick and poisoned himself, and kind of died. Like Batman couldn't save him. Something like that. I don't really remember exactly.
I just thought it was funny, the idea of the number one supervillain in comics, like nobody takes him out, just natural causes.
That might be an interesting story for Batman too, because that is the thing for Superman. Like for when Pa Kent dies. It's not supposed to be like it was in Man of Steel, where it's this natural disaster where
another
he has the
thing
powers
people
to go
yell
save
at me.
him, right? But it is this like, oh, he had a heart attack. Superman literally cannot do anything about that. So yeah, but I don't
know if anybody could. Maybe Hank Pym could shrink himself down real small, go inside somebody's heart, do something. I don't know.
Completely separate universe, but yeah, like someone like that.
Somebody can,
something.
Not Superman, but somebody can stop a heart attack. I don't know who. I don't know which X-Men that is.
But yeah, like I like what they're doing with Powder, with Jinx. This idea that she is this younger character, just wants to help, just wants to be involved, and ends up just unfortunately causing the death of the people that she loves and wants to hang out with and be with and stuff like that. And it ruins her. She's a mess, and it immediately is just berated, just like, you are a Jinx, like, and then abandoned. And then one of the antagonists of the show, Silco, just kind of picks her up, takes her under his wing, and he ends up becoming this like father figure for her. in this like weird, not Stockholm syndrome, but like Stockholm adjacent, where he is this father figure for her, and she
Mm.
likes that and accepts it, and like
Mm.
has an affection for
Yeah.
him. The whole thing is wild, because in some cases think of her more as a Joker like character when
Yes.
she is just causing chaos, wreaking havoc when she's older, but also is kind of the Harley Quinn kind of character too, where she does kind of have this Stockholm syndrome thing for Silco. I don't know. I like her character a lot. She's fantastic.
Yeah. I know the show is packed with nuance and I wasn't able to get all of it, but I can see it in things like Silco does love Jinx in a way. Like it's not a great healthy relationship, but there's not nothing there. Like there's enough that makes it really interesting. There is a sincere love between the two of them, just muddled with it's so many other troublesome things. And the show's good at really tiny, subtle, like facial movements, but also really raw emotion. Like the scene when young Jinx and when young Powder like learns that she inadvertently killed her friends, like her sister's screaming at her, like, you're right, you're a Jinx. I don't want to see you. Like, don't follow me around anymore. Like, it's rough to watch this like little girl who's animated, not, I don't want to say like they don't really, it's stylized enough they don't really look like real people, but there's something so relatable about everybody's faces. Like they're so dynamic, they're so expressive. You look at these cute little kids and you do feel a care for them. To watch her just go through all of that, just screaming, like punching things in her room, like snot coming out of her nose. Like it's so, it's very raw. Like I wasn't expecting it to go quite that hard.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I found myself thinking the first time that I watched it too, because like again, same thing for everyone being like, it's good, it's great, watch it. And I finally did. Like I went in with high expectations, and at the end of that first episode, I was like, oh yeah, holy shit, like this is great. But then the first 3 episodes are interesting because you can kind of watch them as a movie. Like those 3 tell a complete story. And then those threads continue as the show continues, but you don't get like episode 4 through 6 is also another movie. And then, the last arc is also like, it does the initial movie and then kind of treats it more like a show going forward. So it's interesting. But yeah, by the end of that third one, the end of that like initial arc, it like, it's amazing how much of an emotional gut punch they can put in that. And then stuff that they continue to do down the road with all of these different characters and seeing where they end up. And even when when you see the younger version of Echo, when after Vander dies, and he's crying, just being like, I saw the whole thing. And then when you see him later on, and just where he is, it is this like emotional, just like, yes, he's still here, he's still doing his thing. Like they're like, as much as there are those like super raw, intense, emotional like downbeats that you are sad, that you are just like, oh, this is heart breaking. There are these moments that are also just as high, just being like, this is cool, or like, oh yeah, he's still here, like, yes, this is awesome. Like the way they can weave the emotion in their stories is fantastic. And it's interesting because I'm also someone who likes a lot of world building, and I feel like this show both does it and does not at the same time. It teases you and gives you enough to look at without being like, okay, but she's from this other civilization over here, and here's what their people are like. We'll show you that city next episode, like all that stuff. And I think usually I would be like, tell me more. I want to know more. This is not enough. But I think they do this really adeptly. What do you think?
I was kind of overwhelmed by how much was going on at the beginning, just in that, oh, this truly is high fantasy. Like, there aren't going to be a lot of things I recognize. Like, not even like, it's always funny when a fantasy story has got some contemporary Earth names like Caitlin, and then also like made up fantasy names where you kind of wish you had more names you've already heard of to kind of make it easier on yourself to remember things about people, but also they really stick out when you do get normal names in a fantasy world. But there was a lot I was trying to follow, and at one point you go to like a party or something, but you see somebody with like ram horns. I'm like, hold on.
Yeah.
I thought we were dealing with just humans. There's other creatures. There's other beings.
There's other creatures and species. There's those like cat-like people that we see a couple of. There's I mean, I guess all the people in Zaun also have like a bunch of body modifications and stuff like that.
I do want to say also, I think it's funny that the big fancy high-class city is named Piltover, which sounds like a rinky-dink little village name. Like, the name of the city doesn't sound like what the city is.
Piltover, the city of progress.
Right. This sounds like the little place you go on a Dungeons and Dragons journey that's like a tavern and a stable and like one stand selling fruits. And you're like, we got to go like pick up our gold coins here. And then we were just on our way unless brigands come for us. Like, it sounds so small. It sounds like a little tiny dot in a fantasy book map. And then the undercity is called Zaun, which sounds so much bigger and imposing. I thought it was fun how those names were kind of switched.
Zaun. Yeah, it's not the city of Zaun. It's the nation of Zaun.
And there's also like so many nicknames. Like, it's Zaun, but also they call it the undercity. And there's the lanes. Like, I was never exactly clear on what are synonyms and what's a name for something within this undercity.
Right. Yeah.
Like, there's a lot. I respect everything this show does. I think I just came to it in a space where it's like, I don't have the capacity to learn very much right now. I have to learn a lot for my job and the life I have, and not for this 9-hour show I have to watch for leisure. Right. I didn't want to work this much for leisure this week. Some weeks used to have a week like that.
I think that's where maybe if you're more familiar with the video game and the lore of that, you will know a little bit more about the creatures or the other cities or civilizations that are out there, as well as, like, what do you mean by the lanes exactly? You guys are like bowling champions? What's happening here? But like It feels like there's enough to tease you, there's enough to inform you, but it still focuses you in on this story. Like, as much as I want to know more. I also feel very satisfied because there is a lot to chew on.
One of my favorite minor characters, just visually. I don't feel like I knew very much about her as a person by the end of the season.
Is it the crow lady? With
No, it's the woman on the council who has like the clock around her neck. She's got, you picture like the lady, big like Elizabethan ruff that like queens would wear, but instead she has these like concentric circles of these just like ticking gears around her neck. Like, she's surrounded by clockwork, and you see it. She's never without it, but it's never clear. Like, is this medical? Is this fashion? Is this like a cultural symbol of something? What exactly is it? I love it. I just have no clue as to what it could be.
Right. It seems like a mix between, that big, like, ruffle thing you would see in like a Victorian, which that show also has a lot of like Victorian England, like fashion and style mixed in with this, which I love.
This show was out for a year before, after yelling a bunch of adjectives, somebody finally told me a nugget of truth, and they're like, it's steampunk. I'm like, oh, nobody's told me it's steampunk. They just said, great, amazing, incredible, etc.
Yeah, like maybe that like clockwork lady like is the most steampunk in this, but it's not steampunk.
There is some literal steam. There are punks and there's some steam. They're both there. Maybe not always together.
Like that thing might be partly fashion, like that ruffle thing you mentioned. It also might be like those African tribes that do those like rings, the neck rings, or the big like hoop, not hoop, but like the big like plug earrings, or the lip things. I'm not sure what those are called. But yeah, it might be something akin to that, like the number of years you have implies a certain status or power, something like that. That was fascinating. On the flip side of that same coin, the like council for the undercity, there was that crow like lady who was very tall and lanky and had the like bird feathers around her neck with it looked like an oxygen tube going up to her nose, but it's like bright glowing green, just like injecting the Mountain Dew right into her
slime.
Right. Yeah.
I love the guy with the
too.
I love the Baron Underbite guy who's got the metal jaw, and the animation on that character is so detailed. Like it really works like it is a static metal jaw. You can tell there's like extra effort put in on that character's like lip movements and things, because he's only got one lip.
Yeah. It's fascinating. At certain times, it feels like high fantasy. Other times, it feels like cyberpunk fantasy kind of stuff.
Feels like stuff like
Victorian England.
Or something like The Warriors, where you've got just all these different gangs that have got these different aesthetics to them.
Absolutely.
The character designs as a whole, incredible. Everybody looks so cool, so dynamic. Like from the undercity, like very sort of punk Mad Maxy dystopian designs, to Mel, the like regent of the city, who's all beautiful and has like sparkles on her cheeks, is wearing
and gold
gowns,
glitter.
I love that the equivalent of a policewoman's uniform has got the delicate little like neck ruffle on it, like it's a full blouse they're wearing. Across the spectrum, everybody looks so cool. It's the one thing that kind of bugged me, or the one thing that I kept questioning, is for as sickly as he is, Victor still has a perfect head of hair. That's the one part of his body that's thriving. His brain and his hair. He's so smart. The brain power leaches into his hair, and that's why his hair is so good.
Hair technology in Piltover is outstanding. Rogaine has like taken over. I don't even know what's out there. Keeps is one of the ones that I hear are all right.
The city's main export is
some
Keeps.
Podcast fan, right? It's like this podcast.
Oh, he's a podcast guy for sure. Right?
Male pattern baldness, but it affects everyone.
I mean, it really worked on that little elf guy who was chairman of the board. I loved him. Again, he's just like a creature. I don't know what he is. I don't know if we ever see another one of him.
Well, that's the thing. He has what I don't know if I can quite call a pet, because they look so similar that I'm
that
like,
might be his
like,
cousin. We don't
that
know.
might be his wife or like his attendee. Like, I don't know. Like, they look so, like, you've heard the thing, like sometimes like you look like your pet or like you look like your dog. It truly is that. They look exactly the same, but he never speaks to it. Also, the creature does not speak. It is just this tiny fluff ball, and it does kind of make these little small sounds that might imply it is more of a pet or more of a dog or a mouse, cat, dog, gerbil like thing. I don't know. But it's just like they're almost the same size. They're just fluffy fur balls. It's just like, what is happening? Heimerdinger, is this a slave? Like, what is happening here, dude?
Unclear. Like, yeah, like it reads as dog, but when we don't know what any of the beings are in this
slave,
dog, pig, loaf of bread.
Exactly. Yeah.
We don't know what all the rules are, and I do look forward to learning more. Like, I think the show does do a great job of showing you and like not really telling you more than what you need to know. Like, I don't know how much more context you would get if you were familiar with League of Legends. I don't know if this is the first supplementary non-game material or if there's like comics or novels or something where you can also learn about this world without having to press triangle and A and B, etc. But there's a lot there. I can imagine if this show came out 10 years ago, I would have been all over this thing. I would have loved it. I would have been on Tumblr. I would have dug deep into the lore. I would know everything that's going on. For right now in my life, I do not. Perhaps the time will come. Maybe I'll reach some new clear peak in my life where I have got so much time in my brain and in my life to really devote to learning more about the world of Arcane, because it's there. I can tell it's there. If you want to go deep on this, you can. And I do like that. I like that it shows you how much possibility there is. It's so rich.
Speaking of possibility, what did you think about all the hex tech stuff, all the magic that is actually in this?
I think it's interesting that it is mechanical, technological magic. Like, there's engineers doing this. There's not a wizard. There's not a spell book. There's not a wand. There's not a crystal ball. You've got these like little gemstones that are these incredibly powerful like pieces of dark matter or something that they have to do math about. I like that approach. And I like how very sincerely Jason Victor, like, we want to see what good this can do for the people. And they keep relatively clear heads about it. Like, they don't get as misled as you could imagine they would have in another show, in another story.
And there is a lot of tension between them, even as they continue their research. But yeah, it's not like top 10 anime betrayals of all time. There is some like, I wish you hadn't have done that, or like, why are you experimenting by yourself? Like, I thought we were partners, but yeah, it's a good relationship, I think.
I like the two of them together a lot. I like that even though Jace becomes like the face of this new hex tech movement, like, he always wants Victor to be there right by his side. Like, it's not that the council were like, oh, he's all sickly. He has that cane. He's not a good public image. Just Jace. Only Jace goes out there. Like, Jace always invites Victor, and Victor's like, oh, no, I'm okay. I want to stand back here. You go out on stage. You know, I look forward to watching you speak. Like, he hasn't taken himself, like, he took himself out of the spotlight purposefully. He's like, I would just devote time to the research, devote time to my health. Like, they are very loyal to each other. I like when Victor gets sick and Jace has spent the whole night like boning the regent in this like, it goes immediately into like beautiful metaphorical like sex cosmos. I'm not clear on exactly where in physical space they are. I don't know if they're in a bedroom. I don't know if they're on a balcony. I don't know if other people can see them doing that. But they just have a great night
They're
together.
in the Shrek TV. That's where they are, in the Shrek TV.
What if we kissed in the Shrek TV? But like he leaves her the next morning because he found out, oh no, my business partner, my best friend, he's
Had
sick.
an
I have
accident,
to
yeah.
go to him. I have to be there when he wakes up. And
Yeah.
like that's not anything that really causes any animosity between him and Mel. She kind of understands it. Like there's
Yeah.
I like how good that friendship is between the two of them. How very caring he is for Victor.
So I described Jace as like a Tony Stark like figure, but the relationship that Jace and Victor have is almost like a what if Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom had a better relationship and didn't split. I'm a big comic book nerd, as you can tell by all my comic references. But yeah, like I like that. I like that. Like, man, this show also does a lot thematically that I think is really stand out. One of them is the kind of flipping of the scenarios for these two characters, whereas at the start, Jace was about to commit suicide, or what we think he was at least contemplating it. And by the end of this show, Victor has been experimenting on this stuff on himself, trying to be like, hey, if we can contain it in a mechanical piece, can we not contain it within the human body? Would that help my leg? Is that something we can do? And he's kind of quietly experimenting on that. Most of it kind of works. There is that scene where he like has the use of his leg and he can start to run, which is fantastic. But also in the process of getting there and doing all of that, he basically ends up killing his assistant on accident.
Wild.
Which is
she walks in and just gets vaporized.
Touching scene, and I think a testament to how good this show is, because I care about that moment and now that character of just like that was amazing. I think I maybe saw her in 2 scenes. That was it. But like she ends up just getting vaporized, and so he is also just broken as a result of that, of like, oh no, like what have I done? What have I done? And yeah, by the end of this show, he's the one up on this ledge there contemplating, like, do I just end things here? And that's when Jace then comes to his rescue and is like, hey, like, am I interrupting something here? Do you need some help? And I just like that they have both gone through it and helped each other out. I think there will be much more tension between them in season 2. I still feel like I don't know enough about the mad scientist dude that has his face burned, that I think was it that Silco keeps going to. I feel like somehow that guy is gonna factor into the relationship between Jace and Victor a lot more in season 2 somehow. But I don't know. I like where they are, and that's the thing, that I think the show gives you enough and humanizes these characters enough that you care about all these different chess pieces and all these different corners of the world here. I know an easy comparison is this like Game of Thrones style. There's things happening in all these different corners, and slowly but surely they're all coming together. And I think it's doing a great job of that. So
it's the character relationships are really detailed. The sort of thematic journey the show goes on is really complex and nuanced, where I think there's clear bad guys. But even the protagonist, you're like, I don't know exactly if this person's on the right side of things, and I don't know how to determine what the right side of things is.
Exactly.
Like the story, like with all the shifting perspectives, I'm like, I'm not clear on whether or not the show thinks the war is good or bad. Like I don't know where we are with that.
Yeah. On one hand, it's this like classist divide, right? Rich versus the poor, but also the poor have been mistreated, so they're kind of right in all of that stuff. But also like, cool magic, right? Like up here, like I want to see more of that. But also like these two sisters, Vi and Powder and Jinx, and I have a theory, right? This is more so like a thematic theory than like I think I know what's going on here in this story. But Vi and Powder, her Vi's full name is Violet, right? Violet Powder sounds a lot like violence and power. And so I'm wondering like if themes of that in the war behind them. You're laughing at me, making fun of me. I have a serious thought here. No, but like I said, it's not a like this is where the story's going. I got kidneys up here in this head of mine. I'm big brained and everything. No, it is this like. Obviously, it's a war. There is this drug that has been kind of taking over the undercity. There is this magic, and both of them seem to be corrupting people in their own ways. It is this idea of taking power, using things to get power, enacting that power on other people in different ways, whether it be technology to help them or violence to control them. I don't necessarily think that those two characters are meant to be like Vi is the embodiment of violence in this show, or Powder is the embodiment of power in this show. I think that can shift and change, and I think that is thematically what this show is doing. I think it's just a tip of the hat of just like, hey, violence and power is one of the themes. In this. But yeah.
One of the really striking scenes is when Vi goes to Jace and says, do you really want to help fix things? Because Silco's like never going to listen to diplomatic reasoning. Like you have to destroy his power system. The hold he has over the undercity is that he's got everybody hooked on these drugs. If we destroy his drug manufacturing plant, then all these citizens are going to turn against him, and this is going to make things way easier for us. So he's like, okay, that's the best option I've heard. Let's go in there, like guns a-blazing, and like all the workers are in these sort of big suits, and they like all of a sudden the suit is just gone. I don't know if they like magically like blasted it off of him or if this was an artistic cut or what. But you see that when fighting one of these workers, like the body tumbles to the ground and it's a kid. It's like a 10-year-old who's been responsible for manufacturing these drugs. And they look around and all of the workers are kids. And Jace is like, this is over. I'm not doing this. And Vi was like, I know. Of course it's all kids. Like, who else was he going to get to do it? This is still the best option. What? You're upset about killing one kid? How many more kids are going to die if he keeps manufacturing these drugs, keeps his hold over the city? And he's like, I am not murdering children. I'm going back upstairs. I'm going to figure out another solution. And it's really tricky.
He's also not trying to murder children. He's just trying to stop the production. And in his like joy of like using this newfound weapon that he and Vi helped him make, he accidentally kills this kid. And that's when he's just like, oh shit, wait a minute, maybe we should think about what we're doing before we do this. Just like, well, no shit, but also, who did you expect to be working here? So yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's such an interesting scene because it paints like You see from Vi's perspective that Jace is a coward, but you also see from Jace's perspective that Vi is like gone way too hard about things. And you leave the scene saying, I don't know exactly what the best case scenario is. Like that, I don't know if I've watched a lot of things and had that reaction as an audience member, where you want to root for the characters you like to do the right things, but you're really not sure exactly what the right thing is to do in any of these circumstances.
Let me see. Yeah, it's a lot of like moral gray area stuff. It's shifting and changing hands and just like who's going to be on what side, because it's interesting that Vi is from the undercity, is very much against the things that Piltover is kind of doing or stands for, but kind of ends up allying herself with them to help the undercity, or at least to defeat Silco, right?
Yeah.
Which we haven't seen the end of that storyline. But I was trying to look up some stuff the other day on this, and I don't remember where I saw this or where I found it. I can't find it now. Oh, wait, here. So this is Vi's Wikipedia page. And it says not only was she introduced as a playable character within this series lore in December 2012, but she is let's see, it says although she is nicknamed the Piltover Enforcer, because her association with the city's guardians, she is a former criminal who hails from Zaun, originally the undercity region of Piltover. She's the arch enemy as well as elder sister of the terrorist Jinx. So I like that little bit of information was interesting to me. Her nickname, right? The Piltover Enforcer, because it is this like, wait, is she gonna kind of go on their side and like be she has this relationship with, and I forget her real name, but she calls her Cupcake. It's
Caitlin.
Like, Cake. Yeah. Caitlin.
Those two are cute.
Yeah, and I like the relationship that they're building, but I'm wondering if that's the start of this, of like, is she gonna like fall in love with her and kind of go over to Piltover's side and go against the nation of Zaun here? That's interesting. And like, we haven't gotten there yet exactly in the story. Like, we can see where it might, I can see how that might happen, but it's not there yet. And I'm just like, what is happening? How does that become a thing here? So yeah, I'm fascinated by all sorts of stuff in this show. Good things.
Yeah. It ends on a really interesting cliffhanger, with Jinx shooting that bomb right at like the council members' meeting room, right there at the Jedi High Council.
Right, yeah.
You don't know, and like Mel's up there, Jace is up there. You don't know if anybody's really going to get out of that alive. It's really unclear, and you don't know exactly where things are going. I would like it to be not a show where a bad guy is defeated, but there's a real look at, all right, why do we think that side is the bad side? Why do we have sides at all? Instead of good defeating evil, can we like sort of evolve past that point and like learn to collaborate, learn to cooperate, learn to respect each other, and I think
problems rather than like it's our side versus your side.
Yeah, I blew him up. Yeah, and I think the scene where Humdinger goes down and meets Echo is the kid's name, right?
Yes,
and those two have a very positive interaction with each other. Like there's no judgment or fear from one to the other.
Yeah.
I think that's a good step forward.
I think even Heimerdinger being kind of exiled from Piltover, or I don't remember if he was actually exiled or if it was like a self-imposed, like, I need to go look and see what we can do to solve this another way. That's what he kind of says.
They force him into retiring from the council. I think he can still live up there. He just doesn't have the job he's had. So I think he's going on kind of a soul-searching journey.
But yeah, I like that. And then he stumbles across Echo, who's hurt, who then takes him back to his like underground portion of the city where this giant tree is growing, and Heimerdinger immediately sees this and is just like, whoa, this is amazing. This is cool. Like, he was so much the kind of gatekeeper to Piltover's progress and technological advancement previously, that Hex Tech kind of shook him out of that in a like he feels like he's kind of the old guard, and he's like having the scales lifted off of his eyes now to be like, there's so much more we can be doing if we just come together and use Hex Tech with this, or use this with that stuff over here. If we do this here and that and mix it, and I think he's not necessarily gonna be less scared or anything, because he was always very cautious. He's like, great new discovery, we need 10 more years of research. I think he's gonna be a little bit more gung-ho about just building and creating and just making new stuff. That I think it'll be an interesting turn of events wherever that leads him.
Yeah, and that's another interesting angle to this series, is the question of, if we wait long enough until the technology we want to use is perfect, what losses are we risking in the meantime, like to the welfare of the people who we are developing this technology for? It's this back and forth of, it's going to cause problems, but can also solve some problems right now, or the problems can fester while we spend 10 years developing the thing until it's perfect, but then it's perfect for who? For what purpose?
Dualities. Right?
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. There's so much detail in this show. I'm sure we could dig into a bunch of stuff and continue talking, but that's kind of all I have to say.
That's good for now.
Yeah.
Oh, I also want to mention, so Imagine Dragons does the theme song. I like that this has a great opening credit scene. It's not just like 1899 and dark that get to have the good ones over here on Netflix. This can have it too. It's very much like 1899. And in one episode, you see an animated Imagine Dragons who are just down there in the undercity performing. I think
they use that as like part of the animated like music video for that song. It's an interesting one for sure. They have some great music in this, but also I like it. It works really well. It's also just kind of anachronistic. Like, it is. It's interesting choices, to say the least. None of it felt like, oh, this is a bad choice, or this is out of place in a way that is like, you should have picked a different one.
Again, like, mentioning 1899, a song that ended every episode with a needle drop that frequently felt kind of jarring against what the tone of the episode was. It always works here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there you go. That wraps up our spoiler discussion on Arcane. Melissa, let's jump into bingo. We have a bingo update here. Let's see. Do we have any kind of treasure map? No. So I think we can put down signature weapon if you have that.
Yes.
There's the Vander's gauntlets, and then like the newer Hex Tech ones that Vi has.
That lady with the robot arm.
Yeah. There you go.
What a great mechanical arm. It can do so much. Those are such cool fight scenes.
Absolutely. I don't think we got a fancy party, crashing a fancy party. Well, we did get a fancy party. I don't think we got anyone crashing the party.
There's one of the scenes that did kind of lock me into, okay, I'm on board with this show, is right after Jace is appointed to the council and Mel takes him to some sort of performance, and she points out all the other council members in their boxes and tells him, like, these two fight with each other all the time, but they both like the same, like, illicit banned alcohol, so they're friends on that front. And like, if we close the hex gates, then they're not going to be able to import that alcohol, so then those guys are going to hate you. But just the fact of I am having a conversation with this young protege I'm trying to mold while a performance happens really reminded me of Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. That is a great, like, political scene in the sense of, like, hey, you just did this thing which is actually net positive, but politically speaking, like, you're now the villain of the show here. So you need to do some schmoozing to get in good with these people. You need to know their weak spots, right? Those guys, they do this, and those guys, they do that, right? Great stuff. So there's that one, you mentioned that sex scene between Jace and Mel, I think was her name. Is it set to music in a way that it's like it's the Imagine Dragons playing during the sex scene?
No,
I have a sex scene set to music, and it's not just any music.
Happens.
It has to,
but it's not like the Hallelujah scene from Watchmen. No,
which is exactly where that one was inspired from. Okay.
Looking at my sheet, I think I can get villain in a mask, or at least believed to be antagonist in a mask. Like, I think when you first see grown up Echo, he's got a mask on, and then you find out no, he's one of the good guys. But there's a mystery. There's lots of foes in masks in the show.
Yeah,
I've got that. Do you think I could get? There's not one specific one, but there's so many smaller deals with the devil. Like, even Jace's final ploy for the final plan, last resort of we're just going to agree to negotiate with Silco. He's going to have his own independent nation if he stops doing these things. Like, this is, I think, the best non-violent choice I can make right now.
I'd say like something like that. Yeah, his deal with that. And of course, Jinx now messing that up is going to cause a lot of problems. I think also, again, that I don't remember his name, the mad scientist dude that's in the undercity. Like, I feel like even like Silco being like, save Jinx. That is kind of a deal with the devil of just like, hey, she's not going to be exactly like you remembered her. And then, of course, immediately after that, she has the like Batman, death of the family's like dinner party scene. I would say that's an uncomfortable dinner party. If you have that on your thing.
Okay, I do have that.
It's not uncomfortable in the way that we intended it, I think, but it is just like
that counts.
Like we thought like awkward, like you're sitting with like the step parents, or you know. But I think this really, really counts.
I also gave myself faux waiting in the shadows to talk. Because I know there's a lot of scenes where Jinx will sneak up on people in the dark and then, there she is. I love when she's got Vi and Caitlin tied up and you're seeing everything from their perspective through the burlap sacks.
Yeah.
Those are great shots.
Good stuff. So
I made progress, but no bingos yet.
Okay, yeah, I did too. I got the signature weapon or move with a name, an uncomfortable dinner party. That's what I got in that one. I wish we had gotten like a begin human trials. We almost
practically do. Victor's like, I begin human trials on myself. There's one human. It's me, Victor.
There's also the one like street kid that they first inject with the
Oh yeah, the pink stuff.
Yeah, that one might be a begin human trials thing, because he doesn't say it specifically, but it is the like, well, who are you gonna experiment on? He's like, well, good thing I have someone to fill that role, right?
This show does have big begin human trials energy overall.
Will you allow me to have that one?
Yes. Okay. You can have begin human trials.
Cool. With that, I think that is all I can get on my bingo card. So yeah, still no bingos yet, but we're getting close. You're real close.
I am.
You need Arden to death. It's the only one
we only have had science to death. We haven't had art to death yet. Nobody's a ballerina or anything.
Good stuff. Well, that's our bingo update for this week. Melissa, let's move on to recommendations. If people enjoyed this, what else might they like?
Upon first hearing about the show, especially once somebody finally gave me the fact of it's kind of steampunk, I've been imagining something like Legend of Korra.
Okay, sure. Oh, yeah.
Which I think Legend of Korra is a bit more
teen-centric.
Right. Yeah. It's very like teen emotions, coming of age in a way that the show isn't as much.
But also still a kid's cartoon.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's when I picture like the sport bending, the pro bending that they do in that show, I think that's what I thought this show would have, because I know it's based on a video game and I can only imagine what that video game was. It's also like really excellent, like character design, production values, beautiful big city. I think Legend of Korra is still one of the in terms of the design and the production value of the whole thing, one of the finer television series we've seen in the animated world.
For sure.
And there's a movie on Netflix called The Sea Beast. It's an animated movie. It was nominated for Best Animated Feature. Yeah, I'm really happy it got on that nominations list. This movie is gorgeous. It's a lot brighter, cartoonier, but like really wonderful, detailed, diverse character designs, big, beautiful cities. It's about this world where there are sea beasts. And there are these, like clans of hunters that go out there and hunt the sea beasts, to destroy these foes that are going to attack the fisher people and the shores of this big, like, oceanic city state. And there's this one little girl whose parents were hunters and they died hunting some big monster. And she's grown up in this orphanage with this book about tales of the hunters, like her parents and people like them. And she escapes she just runs away one day, like, I want to go be a hunter. She just stows away on a ship, and the ship's like, we already set sail. We have to go like kill this big monster to like prove to the king and queen that we can still do it, that like these independent hunting groups still have the power over their like army that they've built. We don't have time to turn back. I guess you're just stuck with us now. And like her and one of the main hunters get sort of shipwrecked, and they learn these sea beasts are gentle. Like they realize, why have we been hunting them? I don't think they're enemies. I don't think they mean us any harm. And they start looking at everything their kingdom has done, everything their kingdom has built on. And it's this really nuanced, mature, emotional theme of the movie where the little girl's like looks back at her parents, who she still believes were heroes, but now realizes, oh, it was utterly unnecessary for them to kill this monster. And she's like, you can be wrong and still be a hero. She's like, I still respect and admire my parents and everybody who's ever done this. I just need to make sure we never do it again.
Interesting.
Like very, very nuanced, very specific sort of lesson it's teaching, themes it's working with.
Yeah.
But also gorgeous and really fun, sort of swashbuckly sea voyage adventure. I think the Sea Beast is great for everyone.
Cool. Good stuff. I would like to recommend Cyberpunk Edge Runners, which is another one of the things that we almost could have watched this week. It's one that I pitched last week. This came out last year. It is an anime that is set in the Cyberpunk 2077 universe. It's set in the same universe as the video game. There are some tie-ins there, but it's also one that you don't need to know anything about the game going in. 10 episodes, real short. They're all half an hour. It is the art in that is like stunning and nonstop in a way that is just in your face. It's bright colors, it's incredible line work, it is fast paced, and it is surprisingly emotional in a way that I was not expecting, or was not expecting in a short, like 10 episode, like 30-minute episodes, like anime to do. By the end of it, I was just like, oh, I'm feeling feelings here. Like, what is this? But yeah, I would recommend that if you want more like video game adaptions. Which I guess you can also say the video game is based off the tabletop RPG and stuff. So, yeah, I would say go check that out. Also, in that same line, go check out Castlevania on Netflix. Is also an adaptation of a video game. I've personally not seen that one. But again, everyone is like, this is amazing. I've also heard good things about the Cuphead show on Netflix. So yeah, it seems like there's quite a few animated series that are based off of video games that people are liking and enjoying. Stuff like that. I think Korra is a good one. I'll second that. Yeah, there's lots of good stuff out there too.
You mentioned Green Lantern.
Like,
Green Lantern, the animated series. Oh, Tron Uprising, which we've also covered on the show. That'd be a good one.
Yeah, I was gonna say also, if you want more of the like Victorian era costuming and character design, a lot of Gundam has that.
Of course you got
too, which is neat.
Here.
So yeah,
I remember. I gotta recommend this. I don't know why I haven't been recommending this on our Fast and Furious episodes. On Disney XD, at the same time they were airing Tron Uprising, they aired a show called Motor City that was
interesting.
In the future, a bad guy voiced by Mark Hamill, one of the finest, like built super Detroit on top of old Detroit. And then there's like all these street racers trapped down in old Detroit, and they're like shaking their fists like, we're gonna get you. And it's just about toppling this sort of kingdom he's built, and they all drive really fast cars, and it's got like really colorful, dynamic, bold animation. I don't know where this show is. I hope I can find it. I've been wanting to cover it, but
it might be on Disney Plus.
Motor City, the TV show.
I
don't know. Last time I checked, it wasn't. Okay, we can at least buy it on Apple TV, so that's progress. People, please seek out Motor City.
I would also like to recommend Battle Angel Alita. I think that movie is really, really cool. There is an army of Twitter followers out there who, anytime you mention it, will be like, Battle Angel Alita. Yes, we need more. Watch it. Do it. But I like the manga that it's based off of too. That one is very, very good, but it has that like upper class, lower class, like the upper class is living in this city that is like floating in the sky above the undercity that is actually down on Earth.
How do we know that's not what the Jetsons was about? You ever think about that? You don't see the ground in the Jetsons.
Maybe it is. Maybe that's where the Jetsons take place. It's up there while Battle Angel Alita is dead down there on Earth. Who knows? But yeah, that would be my recommendations. Melissa,
Yeah.
It is your turn to do pitches for next week.
Yes. Big surprise, am keeping on the video game theme.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, I have one TV show and two movies. Let me start with the TV show. There's a pro and a con to this. The TV show is Players. This premiered on Paramount Plus last year.
Okay.
This is a live action mockumentary style show. To win the championship, a professional League of Legends team needs their young rookie and their veteran to put their egos aside to work together to put themselves to prove themselves on the world stage. That's the little blurb from the sidebar in Google, and here is an excerpt from a Polygon article about the show. This is about a fictional League of Legends esports team called Fugitive Gaming. Though it's a satire of sports docu-series like The Last Dance and Formula One Drive to Survive.
Great show.
Players works hard to capture what makes esports special, and it mostly succeeds. The specifics of League of Legends may seem daunting for those who've never encountered the game before, but at the core of all that is an affecting sports drama that knows exactly what it wants to be. A funny, loving, sometimes gross homage to the everythingness of professional gaming.
Interesting. Okay.
So I think this show would be a great follow-up to Arcane.
Yeah.
Also, the mockumentary style, an interesting follow-up to Angeline, which we covered a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
But here's the caveat. It premiered on Paramount Plus. It is no longer there. It's still available, but only available for purchase. We would have to spend $2. We'd have to spend $20 to get the 10 episodes through Prime or Apple TV Plus, Google Play, Vudu. So there would be cost to this, but a very interesting follow-up. And I've heard very good things about this show. I think it would be an interesting one for us to tackle. So, Players, that's pitch number 1.
Okay.
Pitch number 2, a movie I have pitched to you before, because it is a sincere personal favorite of mine. This is the most video game knowledge I know. It is Disney's Wreck-It Ralph.
I thought so. Yep.
Ralph, he is the antagonist in a game where he busts up, he punches an apartment building apart, and then Fix-It Felix Jr. is like, I can fix it. And he fixes it, and then all the apartment, citizens cheer, and then Ralph goes to the pile of rubble where he lives. It's about the sentient characters within that video game. You go to the arcade, you play that video game, you beat Wreck-It Ralph, and then at the end of the day, inside the game, Wreck-It Ralph is like, when is it my turn to win? At the end of the game, Felix gets a medal. I want a medal. So he travels into other video games that are in this arcade. He literally just zaps through the power strip. They're all plugged in together, and he can go to other games. And he accidentally unleashes a virus that could kill all of the video games there in the arcade and doom some of the inhabitants of these games who can't escape to live anywhere else. It's a really bright, fun, colorful movie, great cast, very sweet, very interesting theme of knowing you are the villain in somebody else's story and figuring out how you can be the hero in your own story as well.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I know you know this, but I haven't seen Wreck-It Ralph. Period.
I'm continually surprised that you have not. Because this movie is filled with invented new fictional video games and tons of homages and cameos to classic video games.
Cool. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Look right here on the DVD box. There's Sonic. There's Cubert. One of the Pac-Man ghosts. They're all here.
Cool.
And pitch number 3. Soon, Mario and Luigi, Princess Peach, the whole gang, they will take to the screen. But we all must remember, this is not the first time they've done it. We must remember 1993's Super Mario Brothers, starring the late Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo as Mario and Luigi Mario. We all know the story. Brooklyn plumbers Mario and Luigi get the shock of their lives when they discover a parallel world populated by the intelligent descendants of dinosaurs. It seems they weren't destroyed by a meteor millions of years ago, but hurled into another dimension. Now they have plans to rule our world. It's up to our unlikely heroes to battle the evil King Koopa and his Goomba guards, free the beautiful Princess Daisy, and save mankind in this adventure of a lifetime. So, Kyle, we can watch Players, which we would have to pay for, unfortunately, no longer streaming. So we can watch Players, 10-episode TV show. We can watch Wreck-It Ralph, or we can watch Super Mario Brothers.
Ooh, I think I would have picked Players if it was streaming somewhere.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I think that would have been a neat 1-2 punch with, hey, we just watched Arcane. Now let's go watch this, fake mockumentary. I guess you don't need to say fake before you say mockumentary. But would a fake mockumentary just be a documentary? Interesting. But yeah, that would be a neat follow up to that. But yeah, I think and you then pitched Wreck-It Ralph, and I'd be like, you know what? I think that'd be a good 1-2 punch with the Mario movie that's coming out here at the start of April. But then you pitch Super Mario Bros, the live action one. I say we go with Mario to just double up on Mario. Why not? I think it's an opportune
I also love
time.
that we are going from perhaps the finest video game adaptation ever made to one of the most regretful.
Yes, yeah.
I love that dichotomy.
Great stuff. Also, out the weekends that we are recording this is the Tetris movie on Apple Plus.
Yeah,
Melissa,
watched it yesterday. I did watch it
cool.
yesterday.
We'll have to talk a bit about it at another time. But yeah, that is out. You guys can go watch that if you want to. I don't necessarily recommend it. Maybe if you're a little tipsy, but it's an interesting one. I see what it could have been, if that makes sense.
I say definitely start it.
Yeah.
Definitely start it. Feel the energy. Get 20 minutes in. See if it's for you.
Yeah. But yeah, good stuff. Next week, Mario. So what's the full title of it? It's the Super Mario Bros.
It's just called Super Mario Brothers from 1993. Looking at the first page of Google, I don't know where you can watch it. So good luck.
We'll figure it out. We'll buy it on Amazon or something like that.
Right.
There you go. Well, yeah, that about wraps us up for this week's podcast. So Melissa, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at WilkyWit. That's WilkyWit. And listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities, a show where me and my brother Jams talk about weird old kid shows you feel like only you remember. Over the years, this has included Green Lantern, the animated series. We also talked about it there. We also did do a very fun episode about Jetsons.
There you go. Good stuff.
That show premiered in the 60s, aired one season, and then got rebooted in the 80s. So we watched one episode from each run. It's an interesting comparison.
Last year was the year that George was born.
Exactly. Right? That's why we did it. Yeah. To welcome him into our world.
Good stuff. Before I give my social media stuff, I almost forgot. We should announce it again here. Our end of the month special for the next 4 months is going to be The Good Place, hit television show. There's 4 seasons of that. So at the end of the next 4 months, we will be watching one season at a time and covering it here on the review show. So yeah, just get excited about that and keep an eye out. Yeah. That being said, you guys can find me at YoKyleSpringer on Twitter. And if you guys would like to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at the Whatnauts. We are at the Whatnauts on Twitter as well. So please go like, share, and subscribe. That would help us out a ton. If you're watching this on YouTube, go check out one of our other videos right over there on that side. That would help us out even more. But yeah, that is about it. Number 248 of the Whatnauts review show. We will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.